just start recording now? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, so like I sometimes feel like just this casual conversation um kind of helps get to know like each other a little better and kind of understand uh just kind of what you really want to like delve into and yeah, so I'm ready to get going.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's a really I really find that admirable that you're curious about like the psychology and the thought behind this art form because it is kind of interesting that um, I have my buddy Saruj who goes by Midas. He's also a dancer that was in Detours, that video
mhm,
that I was in, and he would often say like we go to all these events and we go out to shows and we dance in front of people and it's like this non-verbal communication, but at the same time like there's a lot to be talked about with this and not a lot of people talk about it or
yeah.
share ideas about it. And so um and I guess that's maybe part of the reason why a lot of people dance is because maybe they feel they can express themselves better through nonverbal communication, and maybe their verbal communication isn't as strong. At least for me, that's what I have always felt. Like I've always kind of shied away from. That's one of the reasons why I've shied away from doing podcasts and like things like this, interviews, is because I've always felt like my ability to express myself through words is a lot weaker than it is through movement. And so, and like for example, this interview, I probably will never listen to this interview over again, just because like I don't like a lot of people. I don't like hearing myself talk. I don't like my voice. To me is very cringe and and I rather just put it out there for people that want to take what they will from it. But like for me personally, I don't know. It's maybe just a weird
No,
um
I hear
ego
you
thing.
on that. Yeah, I don't like even my voicemail. I don't like listening to my myself.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And every now and then, I was just talking to my friend earlier. I had a long conversation with him, and like the um the phone was like echoing back my voice, and I had to tell him like, "Hey man, can you do something about your phone? Because I keep hearing my voice, and it's hard for me to even think when I hear my voice repeat back to me every time I talk. So
For sure. No, for sure. It's for sure. I hear you on that.
yeah,
Man. But yeah, we'll get into it. And I guess now that it's, for everyone that was watching this either on YouTube or Instagram in the future, welcome.
yeah,
Yeah, this is a series where I'll interview different dancers from different styles, and we get to hear their journey and things we may have not known that could be helpful, could be useful for your journey for the person watching. But today we have a special guest. His name is David Elsewhere. First time I saw him was on YouTube. There was a viral clip. I think it was called Collaborations. And I think a lot of people, I think all over the world saw that clip. And it was, again, such a unique movement, such a unique, just a mover in general. And um, now I've also been doing interviews about waving, and I feel like that kind of may tie into what we're going to talk about with your style. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, without further ado, yeah, thank you, David, again for finding time. And I know, like you said, this is a rare moment of you sharing. So again, just really appreciate this. Um,
For
yeah,
sure, man.
yeah,
Yeah, thanks for having me.
yeah, man. And I guess just to go straight into it, how did you get into dance? Like, where did this all begin?
Yeah. All right. Before I actually get into it, I went through your points and I kind of tried to remember every single bullet point that was of significance for each topic that we were going into.
Mhm.
And even so, I went through it pretty thoroughly. I probably am forgetting some stuff that I might circle back around and come to later when I start talking about it. Sometimes that happens. I'll start talking about a topic and then I'll be like, "Oh, wait a minute, there's this whole thing I forgot about. I
Yeah.
was going to bring up," and then I go on some tangent. So, like I said, like my verbal ability isn't my strong suit. So,
Yeah, no
yeah,
worries on that. Like, feel free. It's the way really when I've done the interviews with other dancers, I kind of look at it more like a conversation. Like there are certain points we would like to hit, but it's okay if we kind of go off into another path and we come back to it.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of like conversation vibe.
Yeah. All right. Um, and also another thing I wanted to say is that like, I like your questions, and however, I think like a lot of my answers are going to blend together. Like there's a lot of questions that a lot of the later questions I'll probably start to answer in some of the first questions because they kind of all blend together, I noticed. And so if I repeat myself, I'll try to expand upon them if I've already talked about that. Um, so yeah, the first question you said was, how did I get into dance?
Yeah,
And
how did you get into dance? What was the like, I guess your first memory or experience getting to this whole movement with music and yeah.
yeah, um, well, to go back to the very, very beginning of when I feel like my dance journey started, I would have to start when I was like a little kid. And I would listen to my dad's CDs. And well, I think at that time it was like audio cassettes and records. I was born in 1979. So like I grew up in the 80s, and he had a very eclectic collection of music.
Hmm.
And he had like a few records that I really, really enjoyed, and they were like probably all records that no one's ever heard of, but that was one. And I'm kind of embarrassed to even admit what they are, but
Yeah.
um, they were just like these records that I would just throw on, and they had a beat, and I would just move all the furniture out of the way in the living room and just jump around and just kind of like express myself as well as I could as a kid, you know? And well, I don't know, I don't even know if I was thinking I was expressing myself. I think I was just like getting all the excess energy out that I had as a kid. And so I would, jump around, try to mimic what I considered dancing, which was probably just, like nonsense. And but that was like something I really enjoyed doing. I would do it with my little brother. We would just dance around. Sometimes I would do it by myself, and I didn't really fully understand what I was doing. It was just kind of like something fun to do. Um, but it was something that was a very fond memory of mine, and yeah, I feel like it started there, and um, I feel like I was naturally into dancing. Like I just liked the feeling of just moving to music and just having fun that way.
Hmm.
But I will say I was naturally like into it, but I was not naturally good at it. I would say, like I feel like, and I'll expand more on that topic later. But like I was not like a good dancer as a small kid. I was just like a little kid that was messing around. So that's where I would say like the early origins of it was like the early like kind of interest in it for me was. And I if I had to remember, I would probably say that I was inspired off of like Michael Jackson because back then he was like the biggest thing
Right.
in the world in terms of like music and just celebrity. And I probably was into him as like a dancer, but I don't specifically remember like, oh, I wanted to be like Michael Jackson. It wasn't like that. It was just like I knew. And of course, like, during the 80s, like breakdancing and like, well, breaking, as they
Right.
call it. And I guess popping. Well, I didn't know any of these terms. Um, but in the culture, I probably was aware of it, but I can't specifically remembering like, oh yeah, I want to break, I want to like spin on my back, and I want to like do like waves and popping and stuff. Like I don't specifically remember that. It was probably in the culture, and I probably was just trying to mimic that. But it was so long ago that I really can't remember what I was actually thinking. Um, and so that was when I was a kid. And then we can fast forward to high school. And because like I only did that as like a little kid and maybe like as a preteen and most of my adolescence, I was not into dancing at all. Like got into a bunch of other little kid stuff like Legos and Transformers and GI Joes and stuff like
Right.
that. And then I was completely like not into dancing. And then in high school, I got into dancing. And it was for a few reasons. One was, well, first of all, in high school, I got to kind of like give you a little background about myself personally as a person. Like I'm extremely introverted. Like whenever I take a personality test, I usually come out like 100% introvert or like 99% introvert. Like I'm like very introverted, and usually throughout my life, I've been pretty shy. I haven't really um, wanted to like I haven't really been like this outspoken person or talkative person that has a lot of friends. I've usually been kind of like a loner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of my earliest memories is like spending all of recess out in the field by myself, like just picking grass. And then my friends, which I did have friends at that time, my friends would come out and be like, "Hey, David, just go play like foursquare or handball or whatever." And I'd be like, "No, it's okay. I just want to be out here by myself." And
Oh, wow.
that was one of my earliest memories. So like that kind of gives you an idea of my personality. I'm just like I'm a very much like a introverted, love being alone kind of person.
Hmm.
And and then throughout like my high school, I kind of maintained that kind of personality. And another thing about me is I'm like a kind of a weird mixed ethnicity. Like I'm not weird, but I'm just a mixed kind of not very common mixed ethnicity. I am Peruvian. My mom's Peruvian and my dad's from New Mexico.
Oh.
And but like it's weird because my dad's from New Mexico, yet he's like very much like Hispanic. Like he spoke Spanish his whole life.
Hmm.
Growing up, he had to learn English in school, and then, but he doesn't really consider himself Mexican. Like there's a New Mexican culture of Hispanic people that are also mestizo, meaning they're like, part Spanish, part indigenous, Indian, Native American, and he was kind of part of that, and so I'm kind of like this weird ethnicity, and like throughout my school, and I'm also kind of light skinned. I don't really look like a like. So what happened was in high school and in junior, even junior, well, mostly high school. Um, Basically, I went to Santa Ana. I was lived in Santa Ana, which is like in Orange County, and it's a very much it's a lot of it's mostly like probably the biggest percentage of people is Mexican,
Okay.
and I was to all the Mexican kids, I was a white boy,
Hmm.
and to all the white kids, I was Mexican. So I never really felt like I was a part of any culture or any like ethnicity. I've always kind of felt like I'm this just kind of like singularity type of, not singularity, but like a kind of like not really belonging to any kind of ethnicity or culture kind of thing. So that kind of played into. I'll get to that. That'll kind of play in later on when it comes to my dance, my style and stuff. But so in high school, getting back to, I was very introverted. I didn't have a lot of friends. I had a few really really good friends, but like I didn't have like I wasn't like popular by any means. I hung out with maybe like two or three people at most, and that was usually only at school. And then like outside of school, I really didn't hang out with a lot of people. I was mostly just by myself. Um, and then in my junior year, I kind of tried to become like friends with more people and try to become like more social, and I started going to dances and quinceañeras and like different kinds of things like that. And of course, at those events, like there's always dancing involved in that, and so I would go to these events, and then music would come on, and then I'd try to dance, and I really couldn't dance worth a damn. Like, and in fact, I was kind of almost made fun of by my friends for like dancing so poorly. I wouldn't even like move my legs at all. Like, I would just basically kind of like move my upper torso and my arms in
Okay.
like almost like a Donald Trump style, Like,
That's a great image. Okay, got
yeah,
it.
yeah. It was like that, that's how I danced. And like my friends kind of mocked me and made fun of me, but like in a loving way. It wasn't like they were like shitting on me, but they just, it was pretty bad dancing, and I would admit that. And so that was kind of like didn't make me feel good. Like, okay, we're going to all these. I'm going to do like these little events, school events, quinceañeras, and I'm always like the guy that can't dance, and it was just like that's not cool. I didn't want to be that. And and then I think the moment when I realized, oh shoot, I want to actually start practicing dancing was I was at school, and during lunch in my high school in the center part of the school, they call it the quad in my school. It was like this big area, open area where every Friday they would play music during lunchtime, and people would go down to the quad and basically just dance.
Oh
And
wow.
to me, it was very like interesting because like for me personally, I would never be able to at that time. I looked at people that did that, and I was like, damn, it's so like brave of them to go down in the middle of the school and just kind of dance. And like, I mean, it was like regular, just dancing. It wasn't like anything spectacular, but it was like, wow, they're like dancing down there and they're not afraid to do it, and they're just like kind of down there, and they look super cool doing it, and they actually look good.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like thought like, man, I should maybe like learn how to dance a little better so I could do stuff like that and just be a little bit cooler or something. And this one lunch, there was this Cambodian kid. Um, his name was Chia, but his dance name was Candle.
Hmm.
And this guy went down, and I had seen this guy around school, and he had always kind of dressed in like this really kind of flamboyant way, but that's the only way I can describe it back then. But like he was dressed like a b-boy basically. He had like the Adidas with the fat laces, fat colored laces. He had like
Okay.
just like he would wear the Adidas windbreaker pants, and like
Hmm.
at the time I didn't know what that was. I just saw him like I thought this is some kind of eccentric kid that just danced in this cool style. I didn't even think it was cool. I just thought it was kind of weird and like eccentric, and I was like, whatever. Kind of didn't even really like pay much attention to this kid, and I didn't have him for any I didn't have him for any classes, but I just kind of like knew he was around. And one of the lunches, he went down to the quad, like him and his friends went down to the quad and like did some some breaking, and like did some flares and windmills, and like it was like in hindsight when I look back, it was some pretty basic combos, pretty basic power combos, but like at that time it was like the like a jaw dropping like holy shit, what did he just do, what was that, like it looked like he was like defying gravity, and I was
Yeah.
just like, and like in an instant that guy turned into the like to me in my eyes he turned into the coolest guy I'd ever seen in my entire life. I was like, that guy just suddenly became the coolest dude.
Wow.
And I was like, I can't believe how he did that. And then he did some combos. I think his friend did some combos, but he was clearly the best one of his friends. And then they like walked out like all badass. And I
Nice.
was just like in a state of almost shock, like what the hell did he just do? And then from that point forward, I was like, I looked at that guy like he was like the coolest kid in the school. Like I was like, holy shit. And I actually went up to him and I was like, how did you do that? Like, how do you do that? And I was just like kind of I wanted to do that. And I I saw that as a way to kind of become a cool kid, you know?
Right.
And and that was kind of like my main draw. I mean, it was like a way to become a cool kid, and also I just found it completely fascinating and amazing. It was just like this amazing thing that like I didn't even think was possible.
Hmm.
And which is weird because like I grew up in the '80s, and I must have seen breaking before, but just seeing it live and just seeing it
Right.
in my high school and just seeing it in that context
Yeah.
was just like a different experience, and it just hit me right where it needed to hit me at that time.
Yeah.
And so I kind of was like, I don't know if you've seen Looney Tunes, but there's this
Yeah.
one episode where there's like this big bulldog, and he's like all like big and burly and like the boss in charge, and then there's like this little bulldog, and he's like, hey Spot, what are we gonna do today, Spot? What's going on, Spot? He's like kind of following around. He's like this little wimpy dog is following this bulldog. I was basically that little wimpy bulldog following around Candle. I would like I went home the same exact route on the bus as him. So like when I was on the bus, like going home, I went up to him like, dude, you gotta show me how to do that. Like show me. please, I'll do anything.
Right.
and and at first he kind of like was like whatever. He thought he kind of I felt like I was kind of like a nuisance to him. Like what are you doing? Like get away from me kind of thing. And he didn't say that, but it just kind of felt like that. Like he was like, and I think he kind of didn't really speak English that well. So it was like it was kind of like maybe like a little bit of a language barrier there too.
Mm.
Um, but I just kind of like followed him around. And then going back to the whole high school quad thing, and I'm sorry, I'm like really delving into this
Oh no,
point
no
because
problem.
like this is kind of like the origin story, like where it first kind of
Yeah,
started.
yeah.
Another thing about the quad, um, there was this other kid who would always go into the quad and like he was a house dancer,
Oh,
but like not like a typical house dancer that you kind of see today, but like back in Santa Ana where I grew up, it was kind of like a I'm like a clubhouse dancer. It's a different style, and like in hindsight, when I look back and I try to remember what it was like, it definitely didn't look the same as the house dancing of today. But it nevertheless, I consider it house dancing because it was mostly done to like deep house. Back then, deep house was like that was like one of the most popular genres of house. So yeah. And anyways, the thing about that kid though is like he was kind of like a cocky guy. You know, he was like he kind of thought he was the shit and nobody could could like
right.
step to him. And it was kind of weird because like that guy never really inspired me to like dance, but he did inspire me to want to battle him.
The
Like
house dancer?
the house dancer, yeah, like and it
Oh,
was maybe it was because he like came off as really cocky.
yeah, you want to shut
um
him down.
Yeah, and like I had probably seen him before I saw Candle, but I just was never like he never like inspired me. I got to start house dancing, you know. It was more like that's kind of it's cool. It's a cool style, and he's definitely skilled and talented. But like it was kind of to me almost like annoying how cocky he was. You know, he was like he would always try to battle everybody else. He was just kind of like very he seemed very full of himself.
Mhm.
Maybe that was me. Maybe that was me, and I like that was only in my head, and maybe he wasn't like that. But I just took it as that,
Okay,
and
yeah.
so like those kind of two things kind of like fueled like were the initial like spark that kind of started it.
Hmm.
And I started trying to I tried to hang around Candle and hung out with his crew, and he had a bunch of other breaker friends. I would go to his house. And I think the big thing was when I learned how to drive. I got my driver's license pretty early on before I think most of my friends, and I became like the driver for a lot of people. And Candle didn't have a car, so I was able to, and my parents let me use their car, so I was able to like use their car. And once Candle realized, oh shit, this guy has a car, he can drive me places. Then all of a sudden, me and Candle are like homies, you know?
Right, right.
And he started like taking me to like their practices. Like he would take me to like they would have like little practice sessions in their friend's garage, and there were several houses that we went to, and I wouldn't go there and practice. I would just go there and watch. I would just go there and just like take mental notes of what people were doing. I
Hmm.
was like at that point I had knew nothing. I was not skilled at all. I was just like soaking it up like a sponge, you know, just like watching them and just like taking mental notes. And and by this time I'm already like pretty much like committed to it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to do this. I don't like I'm gonna just try to do it, see what happens. And I would go to these practice sessions, and then this one time we were at a practice session, and I still remember the house that it was at. It was at this kid in Santa Ana as well, another kid, but it was again Candle had taken me there. It was like a breaking practice, and they played a video. And the video was from a breaking event in Orange County. It was called Breakdown, and it was actually an event that my friend threw. Like this is not, it wasn't a friend back then, but like nowadays I know him. Um, but it was like a breaking jam like contest battle type event, and it was a video from that event, and the whole video was like really inspiring and dope, and I like I got a copy of the video and I was like all about it. But there was like one dancer in that video that was like was basically like, okay, I'm gonna get there's okay, let me just say this. There was one guy in that video that really inspired me, but I have to go back a little bit because I have to also include my best friend Manny. He's also known as Squid. He comes out in Detours as well. And
Yes.
so I I was gonna get to him, but I actually kind of went out of order here. Throughout this whole time, so Manny was one of my good friends throughout all this. Like he was a friend before I started dancing, and he's still a friend to this day.
Oh, wow.
And to me, still to this day, I think he's one of the most talented people I've ever known.
Wow.
And he had the amazing ability, and this is all like I'm experiencing all like seeing Candle in the quad, doing all seeing all this stuff. I'm basically experiencing all this with him next to me. Like
Oh,
he's like, kind of like my best buddy, and like we're kind of always like at lunchtime I would always hang out with him, and like throughout all this I would like talk to him about it, but like, dude, that guy was so dope. I think I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna try to do that, and and he was down. He was actually already kind of able to do some dancing. Like he was one of the guys that was kind of like making fun and poking fun at me for not being able to dance.
okay.
And but he had this amazing ability, and he still probably does, although he probably doesn't dance as much as he used to. But he had this amazing ability to basically like mimic people within like minutes of seeing them. He could like see somebody do a move, or actually that's what it felt like. He could see somebody do a
Mm,
move and then like be able to like almost exactly copy it, or maybe not copy it exactly, but do something kind of like it and
yes.
still look really good. And
Oh,
it was
wow.
like it would trip me out because I was like, how the fuck can you do that? Like I could never do that. It was something that I was like, I would I would see these guys practice, and I would try to like do kind of what they were doing,
Mhm.
but it just was like it felt like it was impossible, and he would just kind of pick it up really fast. And so like back then also, I also forgot to say that like I'm also interested, like I was interested in both breaking and popping, because like I had originally uh I had originally saw Candle, and he's a breaker, but then like as I started going to these practices at these people's houses, um I got exposed to popping more. And that was one thing I think that Manny was kind of especially kind of like talented at. Like he was able to just like he was already kind of had some basic popping moves, and like he was able to like do the I don't know if you've seen the Dancing Machine music video with Michael Jackson, how he does the robot. He has like
Yes.
his own kind of stylized robot. So
Yes.
he knew how, he had that robot down like almost perfectly. Like he knew how to do that, mimic that Michael Jackson robot. And like we would always trip out, like me and my other friend, like my other couple friends I used to hang out with, like would always trip out on how good he could do that. And it was just like I would always trip out at how talented he was and how easy it was for him to seemingly pick up moves. And it was frustrating to me because like during all this, when I was going to these houses and watching these people dance and practicing, I totally could not do that. I was like practicing. I would go to these practices, watch people dance, and then go home and then try to practice as much as I could. And like it just wouldn't look right. It would just like always come out kind of like looking kind of weird and not quite right. And I just became, the more I couldn't do it, the more obsessed I became with doing it. I just like kept trying and trying, and it got to the point where I pretty much got obsessed with it. I'm like, I'm gonna do this. This is something I am determined to do, no matter what. I'm gonna do this, and so from that was like around junior year, and what's it call it? Yeah. So okay, so now I'm going to circle back to that practice I was telling you about, where I'm at this guy's house, and they had this breaking video called Breakdown. And in that video, there is an Asian, what I can only describe as a popper. He would probably not be considered a popper now, but like he had a kind of unique style of popping. But he was this Asian kid. He had a blue full body windbreaker suit, and like an Adidas windbreaker suit. It was blue, and he had like a buzzed head, but with like dyed bleached bangs that he like combed back. It was a very like common like hairstyle for a lot of the Asian kids back then that used to break dance in that
Hmm.
area. Um, sorry, break. I'm using break dance. I know it's the wrong term, but I just use that. I mean,
It's so yeah, yeah, I get it. Break dance, we get it. Breaking, I
yeah,
know.
yeah. Break. Okay, like yeah, I'm using the wrong terminology here. But anyways, so anyways, in that video, there's this kid, and he was a complete mystery because like no one really know what his name was.
Hmm.
I know he was in a crew called VFM, and they were supposedly from Long Beach. And that's like pretty much the extent of what I knew about him. But he was this kid that was like in the battle in that video, and his performance of all the people in that video, I was drawn to immediately the most. Like I just saw him, and at the time I was doing both breaking and popping. I was like trying to do windmills, I was trying to do footwork, I was trying to pop, I was trying to wave, I was trying to do basically everything. I was just trying to like
Right.
throw anything at the wall that would stick, and just find something that I could do that where I would be good at. And like I was just trying everything and everything.
Hmm.
And when I saw that guy, um, I kind of realized, you know what? I kind of want to just do popping. Like popping seems like the thing I should do. Um, for one, because I just feel like I'm kind of more. I feel like I'm a little bit more. My body's a little bit more made for that kind of style.
Hmm.
I'm really lanky, long. I have like really long limbs, and I'm really skinny, and I have like this weird kind of alien-esque build to me.
Right.
And I always felt that that was not really good for breaking. I'm not really like a lot of breakers. I feel like are have like a compact, like kind of shorter build that they have like lower center of gravity or something. I don't know what it is, but I just like breaking just seemed like almost an impossible feat for me. So at that moment when I saw that guy, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to start focusing more uh, on popping. And around that same time, I also got injured. I was practicing turtles, or I think they're called crickets. And I was like doing that move, and I like, kind of like sprained my wrist, and I wasn't able to like break on that arm for a while. And so it was a kind of the combination of not being able to break and just realizing that I'm naturally more like inclined to do popping. So I just kind of made my decision, like I'm gonna focus more on popping because that just seems like the natural thing to do for me.
Right.
And so I just started like just focusing on popping, and I just became completely obsessed with it. I mean, I like ate, slept, and breathed popping, and just practiced all the time. And I was even like I was even when I was at school in class, I was practicing in my head. I was just like thinking
Yeah.
about it. I would like even when I went, like I remember this one time I went snowboarding, and that was something I used to do back then as well. And I remember just being up in the snow and snowboarding and daydreaming about popping while I was
Wow.
snowboarding. And I was like, why am I even risking my injury to my body if I really want to just be dancing instead of this? So like that's how into what I was. And so I basically was just obsessing over this and just doing it all the time. So for like the first year, it was like an obsession. And another thing I want to add is that I had like this weird vision of how it would look when I would first perform in front of people.
Ooh.
And yeah, I had like and it was a very clear vision that it was going to be in front of the whole school, and it was going to be a battle against that one house dancer,
Ah.
and it was going to be like I just had everything. I had this weird vision about it, and like I'm not like superstitious at all.
Yeah.
And but like I just like, kind of, it was kind of like this thing. I was kind of like a goal that I was striving towards. I want that to happen. I want this like scene out of a movie to happen where I go in there and I do some moves and I show them what's up, and the
Yeah.
whole school gives me applause, and it's just like
Like a movie.
it's a fucking movie,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm like daydreaming about this. It's like I'm either practicing or daydreaming about this scenario in my head, and so I'm practicing. Summer goes, I go through that summer from junior to senior year in high school. And I'm just like doing it obsessively. And then the next year is my senior year of high school. And it's kind of weird, but like that scene actually, it plays out almost exactly how I envisioned it.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, it is. It is. It sounds like really far fetched, and even when I say it now, it just sounds like kind of like, oh man, that's kind of weird that it happened like that. Because like that's never happened in my entire life ever before, like or ever again. Like I've never had like a vision of something that's going to happen, and then it happens exactly like it was going to
oh,
happen. Like it was like felt almost a little bit like supernatural. Like what the hell? Like that was kind of like out of a movie. It was like during lunchtime they were playing music in the quad, and the people were dancing in the quad. And here's another kind of interesting, weird thing about that is that like up to that point, I had never danced in front of anybody except like my closest friends, like my friend Manny and a couple other guys,
yeah.
and of course my parents and my brother,
Huh.
but like never in front of like the general public, never in front of like a large audience. I had never done that. So, which in hindsight was pretty like not the best thing to do, because I feel like you should probably get comfortable dancing in front of people before
Huh.
you like do it on a large scale like that.
Huh. Uh-huh.
But like I had never done it, and it was something that I was like, I mean, I wanted to do, but at the same time, it was such a like a scary proposition for me, because obviously, like, if I were to do that, that's when like the rubber hits the road, and that's when like
Yeah.
either this like vision that I have is going to come true or not. It's like
Right.
it could easily go very badly.
Right. Right. Right.
So like I had never danced in front of anybody, and like and but like the word had got out. There was like a bigger group of friends that I was hanging around with that kind of had caught word that I was like trying to break dance and trying to do that stuff. And they would always kind of mock me and be like, you should go down there, you should go down there, go like. But they I don't feel like they ever really like truly believed that I was actually capable of that. I think they were just kind of like making fun of me and like mocking me because they didn't think I could.
Hmm.
And they were like, I heard you've been breakdancing, man. I heard you've been breakdancing. And then like but it's kind of funny because they were kind of the ones that pushed me in to do it. Like it was like lunchtime, the music was playing, um, and they kept going like, go down there, dare to go down there. And I'm like, and they finally made me kind of go down to the quad, and I still had my backpack on, and I didn't think in my head I was actually going to do it at that moment. I was thinking I'll just go down there and kind of like feel it out and maybe see how it is getting close to the circle and like see how I feel. And maybe I'll do it next time, or maybe I'll do it in a few more
Right.
times.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was never, I didn't think I was going to do it that moment, but like, I was kind of like, and like, of course, and one thing about this is like every time they would play music in at lunchtime, I would have like so much anxiety. Like my heart would be pumping through my chest, and I would just be like so full of like anxiety, basically like nervousness. Like, oh fuck, is today the day I'm gonna do this? Is today the day I'm gonna actually go out there and perform in front of everybody and not in front of the whole
Wow.
high school? And I would get this super anxious feeling, and that day was no different. Like I was just like completely a nervous wreck, and I went down there, and then I was standing at the edge of the circle, and that house dancer was in the circle, just doing kind of what he does, is like his house dancing, and I mean, he is a good dancer, and no doubt. And my those friends that were kind of mocking me kept pushing me in the circle, and like they would push me in, and then I'd like go back out. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do it right now, and then push me in, and then I'd come back out, and after like a few times of doing that, I realized that I am like causing more of a scene fighting them pushing me in the circle than actually doing something in the circle, because I was like it was like I was being put on the spot. The whole school was watching, and they were watching my friends pushing me in the circle, and I was
Right.
like, well, I'm already in the circle, so I might as well do something. So like I was in the circle, and I still had my backpack on,
Oh,
and I just did like a very like a little combination of some basic popping moves. You know, when I think back now, it was like the most basic moves, um, but just those small amount of moves got like a crowd reaction. People were like kind of surprised that
Right.
I even did that, and I got like a crowd reaction. And it's like, well, you know, people like
Right.
cheering me on, and that totally like just fueled my like, oh, I'm gonna do this now, you know. And so I took my backpack off, threw it down, and basically just did my best at performing in front of the whole school. And like it was it was like probably the most greatest natural high I've ever
Wow.
experienced. Yeah, it was um like I said, it was like it felt like a scene out of a movie. The whole school kind of, well, not the whole school, but the whole school in that immediate vicinity just kind of erupted in applause and like, oh my god. And I did like some popping moves. I kind of like did some move and got in his face and like did a little like kind of battle move in front of him. Um, and then after that, he came back at me and did like some of his house dancing. And at that time, I was still kind of doing breaking. I had some breaking moves still that I could do, and so I took my backpack off and actually did some breaking moves,
Oh,
and the crowd went freaking ape shit. Like it was just like this had never happened in the quad before, as far as I had known. You know, like I'd never seen this kind of reaction from people or felt this kind of reaction. And yeah, dude, like, and after that, um, basically my life was different.
wow.
that was
After that, wow.
that was like the moment when I realized, oh, this is what I want to do. This is like real. I mean, but I was obviously on that track before then. I was already obviously doing it and practicing my ass off and just like obsessed with it. But at that moment, it was like, no, this is it. This is the thing. And I was on fucking cloud nine for like, I remember like for the following week or two, I was on like cloud nine. I was such on a natural high, and like everything was beautiful and life was perfect.
Wow,
And-
that's beautiful.
yeah, and like also like all of a sudden I was cool. Like all of a sudden, like people were coming up to me and like wanting to be my friend out of nowhere and like wanting to learn. And it was kind of like me with Candle, you know. It was like all these people that were wanting to learn to do the same thing. Um and in fact later on I created a me and some of my friends created a little like breaking club at school. And um yeah, it was just like it was the exact kind of vision that I had envisioned, and it made me this cool kid in school. And so that's the beginning. That's my like
Wow.
entrance into being a performer, a dancer, and yeah. So that's, you know what, I realized I probably went into that way longer than I should have, because I have like that was just like one bullet point of like many. But like
I
let me try
love that. I feel like I'm watching I feel like I'm watching a movie. Like when you're talking, I'm like visualizing it. So it's great. Like here's the rising and then the climax, and then yeah.
Yeah. All right, dude. So okay, and I'm gonna try to move on from that point. But so that was the beginning, and okay, let me go down my list. I have my bullet points here. So yeah, the vision came true. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Cool. And there's actually more bullet points, but I think I'm gonna get to that part later on in one of your other questions. I'll get to that part later. But that is essentially like the beginning of my journey and how I started. So I would say, like, you know, my friend Manny was definitely a huge inspiration and a huge influence on me, and his practicing with him, his creativity. I would say he's like a hugely important person in my life at that time, and still to this day, but at that time. And then then that Asian kid I saw in the video were like kind of like two big, and then Candle, of course, the breaking kid. So like that, those are kind of like three of the people that I really kind of attribute to like sparking that beginning part of my life, of my dancing life.
Right.
And then so I'll come back to that. I'm gonna like go go beyond that later on when we talk about like how I my style developed and stuff. And I'll do that later. But or I can go that do that now, or I can go to the because your second question was what's the dance culture like in the '90s and the early 2000s. I can go to that one, or I could. It depends on what you want me to do.
I guess a question I just came up. The kid in the video, the Asian kid, you said
Yeah.
he was like a popper, but he was different. Could you describe what did you see? What was he doing in the video?
Yeah, you can actually see him in Detours. In the video in Detours, I called him Salty, and
Oh,
the only reason why I call him Salty is because that's what I remember them calling him. But like, it could very well be like like the game Telephone, where like
yes.
you hear
Someone.
one thing, and it like eventually like several people later, you're saying like something completely different. So it probably isn't Salty. It's probably like some other name, but like that's what I remember him being called. It might have been Saltin or Salty or Salt. I don't know, something with salt in it. And so like that's what I called him in the video. But like I honestly don't. If if he's hearing this, or if somebody knows who he is, I would love to know who he is, and even maybe even talk to him and tell him how big of an influence he was on me, because yeah, he was a huge influence on me.
Wow. Okay. Got it. Okay. So that you mean you never met him in
Never met him. I just the only thing I saw of him was in that video. That footage from that breakdown is like a VHS tape from an event in Orange County called Breakdown, and that was the only thing I saw of him. And I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he's even alive still. I have no clue.
Okay. Well, I hope, yeah, if I find out any information, I'll definitely let you know.
Yeah,
Really cool to know.
I know he was in a crew called VFM. I believe it was called
PFM?
VFM, and I don't know. I don't even know what that stands for, but they would just call themselves VFM. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Well, maybe we'll see with that information if there's anything I could find.
yeah,
Yeah, but I guess then moving forward, since I guess it was the 90s when you're a senior, correct, in high school? It was like,
yes.
okay. So,
That was '97. So I was class in '97. So my senior year was pretty much like 1997.
okay, so yeah, we could go into what was like the culture, the dance culture like around that 90s.
Yeah. Okay. So you kind of heard a little bit of what I was talking about. There was definitely people. So I grew up in Santa Ana, which is in Orange County, and Orange County is like very like diverse in terms of socioeconomic
Hmm.
status. There's very rich parts of Orange County. It's kind of known for being rich, but like there's also very poor parts. Like, and Santa Ana just happens to be one of the poor parts. And But it also happened to me. It was the most like it was one of the more like artistically vibrant places
Hmm.
in Orange County, and also like Fullerton and yeah, I think Fullerton and Santa Ana were kind of like, but there were people from all over. I was going to practices in Buena Park and all over Orange County. And the scene there wasn't a huge scene there, like that one breakdown event that the video was from. That was like one event that was like one of the few events that I had ever heard about in Orange County that I didn't even go to. I just saw the video from. The events that I mostly went to were events in LA. Like LA had like a very vibrant breaking scene back then. That was actually another huge inspiration for me. Going to Radiotron for the first time and just seeing the level and the creativity of like the dancers in LA just blew my mind completely out of the water. I was just like mesmerized. It was another one of those moments where I just like had to like pick my jaw off the ground and like kind of like pinch myself of what I was looking at, because it was just like so mind boggling to me. And another uh, place where I would get a lot of inspiration from were raves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went to quite a bit of raves back then, mostly my senior year in
Hmm.
high school. I was also very much obsessed with electronic music.
Right.
Nowadays they call it EDM, but back then it's just electronic music. And then there was a lot of raves. there was some in LA. The first rave I went to was in LA. It was at the Shrine Auditorium in LA, and that was another um, thing, like another spot where I was inspired. I saw some breakers there that were pretty amazing, and also clubs like nightclubs. So I would so in terms of like my local vicinity, I would say it was mostly just like raves, clubs, and the occasional like b-boy event,
Mm.
which didn't happen so often. Like I wasn't. I mean, it would maybe happen like I maybe went to like my senior year. I probably went to like two events. I probably went to like Radiotron and B-Boy Summit in San Diego,
Mm.
and I think that's it. I mean, there might have been more, but like I don't recall if there was more. That's all I remember.
What did you?
And
Oh yeah, sorry. I was gonna say, what did you see in the raves? What were people doing in the raves? Like, was there something
yeah,
specific or?
I mean, all kinds of stuff. I mean, there was a lot of breaking back then. A lot of break. There were like a lot of breakers used to go to raves. There would be like a lot of dance circles with breakers. The pop there was some popping, but it was more kind of like what they call liquid,
Hmm.
which is
Right.
like like the hand waves and like
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
kind of like connecting hand waves. Um, there was one dancer in particular that I saw at a rave that like was also hugely influential for me, and that's Skywalker.
Yeah.
Um,
Heard of
he
him. Yeah.
Yeah, he now I think goes by Octo Rock. I think that was the name he changed his name to, but his real name is Caesar. But he was also someone that was like that changed kind of the way I danced as well,
Hmm.
influenced me. Um, and yeah, I remember actually the rave I went to. I think it was probably like when I saw Skywalker, it was like long after that performance at my high school that I did. Like it was like probably like the summer after I graduated high school or something, probably if I had to guess. And yeah, I went to this rave. It's called Mayhem. It was at the NOS Center in San Bernardino, and I remember going there with my friends, and I was gonna like. And it's kind of funny because I was going to these raves, but I was like going like mostly completely sober.
Okay.
Like everybody else was like doing drugs
Right.
and
Right.
stuff, but I would just go mostly because I wanted to either see dancing or try to dance myself.
Right.
And but I remember going to that rave, and there was a circle. I went to the circle, and I and actually before I even get to this part, like I had heard rumors about this guy before I even saw him. Like
Skywalker. Okay.
some of my friends had like had come to me and were like, because they knew I was at that time, they already knew I was like really into dancing and popping and all that. And one of my friends, I remember he came to me and he's like, I saw this guy at a rave and I think you would really appreciate him. He turned his entire body into water.
Hmm.
And he was like, it looked like he was melting. He was kind of just, he was describing what I later witnessed, but like, I was like, and like, the other friends that went with him were kind of vouched for him as well. They were like, "Yeah, dude, that guy is like, he tripped us the fuck out. Like we were just tripping out on him."
Nice.
And these friends that were telling me about this, they're not even into dancing. They're just like guys
Oh.
that, yeah, they're like guys that just like go to raves and like do drugs and stuff.
Right. Right. So
So
you must have been like, I gotta see this.
yeah, yeah. I was like, if they're telling me about this, that must be something special. So I had
Yeah.
heard about it, and I kind of like in my head, I kind of imagined what it might look like. And then when I actually went to that rave mayhem and I saw him, it was like I knew it was him that they were talking about. Like there was like no doubt in my mind that it was him because like he like just I stopped everything I was doing the whole rave. I just stayed at that circle and watched him the entire time. Like
Hmm.
I didn't even dance. I didn't dance myself. I didn't like actually party or do anything. I just was standing there on this at the circle, just like looking at him dance and just hoping he would keep dancing and hoping he would keep going out. And yeah, so that was kind of, and this is one thing I often talk about. I often say this is that like one of the I feel like one of the advantages that I have, and this might not seem like an advantage now, but like I see it as an advantage, is that I didn't have anything to record him. I didn't have any like I didn't have a phone. This was before cell phones. I didn't have a video camera. All I could do is just record him with my own brain.
Mm.
And what I feel like that does, which I think is very important, at least for me, is that it lets your brain influence the style that you're being influenced off of. So like if I were to have videotaped him, I could have just take that footage and I can watch it over and over and over again until I mimic him exactly. And uh, even though I wouldn't probably be able to get it exactly like him, it'd be a lot more similar to how he did it than how I would do it.
Yes.
But like by not being able to record him, all I got are the memories in my head. And what happens with memories? Memories change, Every
Right.
time you think of a memory, your brain kind of like changes it a little bit. Your own memories and your own like personality kind of like changes it a little bit. You kind of are automatically putting your own spin on what this other person is doing.
Yes.
So like in a way, I'm so glad that I wasn't able to record him because like I wasn't able to bite him. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
I
Right.
was I like my I just basically I was influenced off him and I definitely like tried to copy him,
Yeah.
but I inevitably did it completely differently because I couldn't fully remember exactly what he was doing.
Yes, and that might be why there perhaps one may argue there's more versus what's the how do I say, like back then much more originality and diverse of styles and people with their own styles versus
Yeah.
now, because now everything is documented, filmed, and watched and studied and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Exactly. I think I believe that's the case as well.
Mm.
Because I feel like now it's like, I mean, there's always been a tendency. I feel like humans have a natural tendency to conform, to kind of be like everybody else. It's like so, and it just happens automatically. I mean, I do it too. I mean, like if I dance with people long enough, I'll start dancing like them, even if I'm not consciously trying to do it. It's just like it just automatically just happens, and it happens almost immediately. Like when I'll go to a practice session and I'll be dancing with somebody, and they'll do a certain style, and then I'll like immediately kind of like find myself doing something kind of similar to them. And so it's just like a human thing that humans do. So, but I mean, doing like having doing things like not being able to record is like actually kind of like almost like a little hack that you can not do. Like it makes you're less likely to do that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, raves definitely. As far as like I guess going back to your original question, I think I feel like I kind of went on a tangent there, but like the actual scene in the 90s and in early 2000s, as far as I really can't speak to exactly how it was. I can only speak to how I perceived it, and I will say that I can't say that I'm really was really involved in the scene. Like I went to a couple big events, um, and that's pretty much it. Like back then, like in the a handful of events. Like I went to a handful of b-boy summits,
Mhm.
radiotrons, various small breaking jams in LA. Um, and so I don't feel like it was really, again, it kind of goes back to my personality too, probably as well. Like I never really, I'm always kind of like a loner in a way. And so I don't know if can really speak on behalf of the entire scene. I'll just speak on behalf of what I feel,
Yeah. Yeah.
see from it. As far as the breaking community, I mean, the breaking community was amazing back then. I just felt like you were saying before, it was like so diverse. There was so much such a diversity of different styles. Like originality was celebrated like to the fullest, and like bite everybody. People hated on biting. It was like
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's kind of like that now, but I feel like now it's a lot more. Everybody's kind of a hybrid. Everybody kind of does a little bit of everything, and is kind of like this um, very it's kind of like a jack of all trades instead of like a master of one
Yeah.
particular style.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as the breaking scene, as far as the popping scene, from my experience, the popping scene back then was like very was very conservative, I would say, and like conservative in the sense that not like in a political sense, but in a like you have to do it this way. You have to like and I think that largely has to do with the fact that like whenever I would go to these big events like B-Boy Summit and especially B-Boy Summit because that was like the main event where I would see like that bit that they would have actual popping battles.
Hmm.
It was always thrown by the Electric Boogaloo's,
Yep,
and
yep.
the Electric Boogaloo's kind of have like their way of doing things, and they have their very um, kind of like a I would say a little bit of like a dogmatic approach to how they want people to dance. And uh, I'll kind of expand on that later. There was like a moment where
Mhm.
I'll kind of like just briefly talk about it right now, but I'll kind of expand on it more. But I actually entered a popping battle at, I believe it was B-Boy Summit 2000 or it might have been 2001. And before I even finished my set, they stopped the music and they basically told me like I'm not doing it right, and they told me to like they kind of insulted me in front of the whole event.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. And so I
Okay.
can expand on that later, but like
Okay.
that is also kind of like a pivotal point in my dance career where
Yeah.
it kind of like pushed me further into a more kind of radical direction as far as my stance
Yeah,
style.
I could see that. It's making sense. I see where you're going. Like, fine, you don't want this? Watch what I'm about to do now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
exactly.
take it farther than ever.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It totally like yeah, radicalized me. I mean, um, but I mean, everybody has their own point of view. I don't like really. I don't at this point. I don't. I'm not really. I don't really care. I mean, they have their point of view. They have their way of doing things, and it's worked for them. And they're a really talented bunch of guys. You know, they definitely have a lot of skill, and they've been hugely influential in the dance. So I mean, um, I'm not gonna like hate on them because like they just did what they did and like
Giving
it
credit where
actually
it's due, and okay, yeah.
I mean in a way it kind of helped me. It kind of helped me on my journey. So like I'm not gonna hate. But that's just what happened. I'm just telling it as it is.
Right.
So okay, let me think. Let me go down the bullet points. So yeah, B-Boy Summit.
Uh,
Let me think.
you mentioned Radiotron. Who did you? Was there anyone that caught your eye at Radiotron?
Um,
Anyone
the
specific? Maybe not.
the very first Radiotron. A lot of people. I mean, I think the first thing I the first thing that kind of like got my attention was how it wasn't about it wasn't all about power moves.
Mm,
Like the like I remember I think the two people I remember the most are B-Boy Stuntman and this guy named Jash.
mm,
And they're like very original, unique dancers in the sense that they don't really do power moves. They do like just like pure style and like interesting poses and
mm,
top rock and just like it's just like a very unique kind of way of doing things. They're like it's not really like they're not doing like huge flips and like
right.
dynamic power moves, but they're doing just like really original creative stuff. And that's one thing I noticed at B-Boy Summit that really caught my eye is like a guy would go out there and do like some amazing combo that I thought was amazing,
Mm,
and he would get some props, but it would be like kind of whatever. And
mm,
then you'd have a guy like Stuntman go out there and do some like weird ass pose into like a some move that you can't even describe, and then he'd get like even more props, and I'd be like, that's so trippy, like, and that was kind of when I was putting things together, like, oh, it's all about being original. It's all about being original, and like that was another like concept that I got from the breaking scene that really influenced me about the originality. Like I just I'm gonna get to that later, expand on that more. Let me just go down my list of
oh, yeah.
about the scene. Let's see. Oh, okay. And then also, uh, there was a spot in my town. in Santa Ana called Coos Cafe.
Hmm.
That was like a local spot that I would go to, that a lot of breakers would go to, and um, that was also hugely influential for me. And had I went there a lot. I saw a lot of new dancers there. That's where I met Midas,
Oh.
Saruj from Detours. That's where I met West Coast Rockers, which is like this breaking crew that I actually would enter battles with. Um, and and that's where I formed my crew Garage Squad back in the day. Like it was like that was my popping breaking crew, dance crew, and we kind of formed around like Coos Cafe and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so that was kind of, I guess that's pretty much what I have to say about the scene. But yeah, I've always been like this. I've always felt like an outsider and kind of like a lone wolf that kind of is his own thing. So I'm probably not the best person to ask about how the scene was exactly. You know, it's just that from my perspective, that's how it appeared to me. And I probably can expand more on it, but I think I could. It's probably better for me to move on just because I don't feel like I'm the best person to talk about that.
Yeah, okay. But again, appreciating your perspective of what you saw. But yes, I hear you. I hear you. Okay. I hear you. Okay. So I guess then moving forward, the question I guess that I had next was how did you develop your own style? And I know
Yeah,
you kind of mentioned those the EB moment.
yeah,
But yeah, if you how would you like to go into that?
yeah. Okay, so this is I wanted to. There's like several things I will expand upon that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, so I kind of talked a little bit about it, but like um, going back to that the Asian dancer, the one that I called Salty on Detours, and then also I'll talk also about Skywalker.
Oh yeah.
Um, um, so so with Salty, he was somebody that I basically was trying to bite. I was like, I would watch his footage over and over and over again and try every single move he did, I would try to copy.
Hmm.
And it was like when I was barely learning how to dance. So obviously I feel like I have an excuse to do that. You know, I
I
was
get
just
it.
learning the basics. I was learning my own foundation. So
Yeah.
that's who I kind of like look to learn my foundation.
Mhm.
And I one thing that was, and I've already talked about this a little bit, but like one thing that really frustrated me was that I couldn't mimic him. I could like as hard as I tried, I could never do the moves exactly like he could. He
Hmm.
was always like a little bit different and like a little bit not as in my eyes not the same. So and I was frustrated by that and I struggled with that for a long time. But then like when I started going to these dance events and I started seeing how like originality was the thing that everybody was striving for,
Hmm.
I realized that wait a minute, like me not being able to do this move exactly like that guy is actually a good thing. Like that is actually me putting my own spin on it.
Yeah.
Like my body is built different, my brain is built different, everything about me is different from him. It makes sense that I wouldn't be able to do that move exactly like him.
Hmm.
So why not lean into that? Why not go with that and yeah, get influenced by that move, but then how you do it differently and keep doing it differently and practice doing it differently and embellish it more and do and put your own little tweaks on it until it looks nothing like that move that he did, until it's your own move. And I feel like that's the essence of like innovation, you know? I mean, like, you know, a concept that people often talk about in art is like nothing is an island, right? Nothing, it just comes out of nowhere. Nothing just comes into existence out of nothing.
Right.
There's always like some kind of thing it evolves from or thing it gets influenced from. And so I feel like in order to create those new seemingly new things, you're going to have to take from what already exists. And one way to do that is like just let your own brain and body naturally put its own spin on that.
Hmm.
And so that was like when I remember like, you know, going to like Radiotron and all these breaking events, and it was, I don't know if it was like one moment where it was like a eureka moment when I was like, aha, it was more kind of just like over time, it
Yeah.
just kind of slowly became like apparent that like, actually, this is good that I'm not able to copy this guy. I'm doing my own style now, you know? And
Right.
so that was a huge like thing for me. That was a huge kind of breakthrough.
Hmm.
And and then also like yeah, realizing that biting was whack anyway. So even if I did copy this guy exactly, that was fucking whack.
Right.
That's
It was going to be shunned upon regardless.
yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, it's like I'm putting two and two together, and it's like hell yeah, I'm doing it right. Actually, I was
Nice.
already. So that
Nice.
was one thing. And then another thing, uh, I think like going back to how I'm like this kind of lone wolf kind of personality type. Um, I never felt like I really truly belonged in any like community in the dance world, even though I love the breaking scene and I sometimes went to jams and popping competitions. I never felt like I truly belonged. Like I had like friends in the popping community that were definitely true poppers, but like it was kind of like peripheral. It wasn't like something that I wasn't like hanging out with them all the time. Every now and then I might see them and I might hang out with them, but it was like I was mostly just dancing by myself or with my buddy Manny.
Hmm.
But it was mostly by myself, and so I feel like that part of my personality and the fact that also like I come from like I have like a kind of a unique ethnicity and just feeling like I never belonged. It kind of was. It allowed me to kind of stand alone and just be me, be who I am instead of like conforming to an overall style that everybody's doing.
Right.
And so that was another part of it. Also, dancing to unorthodox music or dancing to music that most people don't, that weren't really dancing to that music. Like, one of the things about going to jams that I always was frustrated about was um, they kind of always play the same music
Right.
and it's just so played out to me. I mean, uh, I grew up in Santa Ana and like in Santa Ana, especially during the 90s, uh, like gang culture was like huge. And like there was like just, I went to high school where there's like basically a bunch of cholos hanging around. Like it was like super actually intimidating at some points because like, I mean, there was a lot of gang activity. There was like shootings in the neighborhoods like surrounding the schools that I went to. I grew up. My neighborhood isn't necessarily like a ghetto ass neighborhood, but like I feel like a lot of the communities in Santa Ana are, and or maybe it's not just ghetto ness. It's just like I feel like a lot of that like Chicano culture of like lowriders and stuff. All those guys love funk music, and so I love funk music too. Like when I first heard Zapp and Roger, I fucking loved it. I got every single one of their fucking albums, and like I was all about it. I loved it, and that was like back in high school, and so by the time I started going to like popping jams, like all that stuff was kind of played out for me already.
I see. Like, okay, I hear it at home. I hear it in the neighborhood. Now
Yeah.
I got to hear more of it at the event, the
It,
dance. Right.
exactly. And so I was like, oh, I want to hear something new now. And I still like if I hear like new funk music, that's dope. I like new stuff, but like just like hearing the same tracks over and over again. And another big artist that like I really really got into was Kraftwerk. And
Oh yes, that's a good.
yeah, so the collaboration clip, for example, that's a Kraftwerk track that I'm dancing to in that. And I love Kraftwerk. I got super deep into that. Both me and my buddy Manny got super deep into that. And but the thing that always would piss me off is that the only two songs they would play at all the events were like Tour de France and
Right.
Trans Europe Express, and like that's it. Like they have like a huge discography of like dope ass music and they
Right.
only play those two songs. I'm like, why, dude? Like play all their shit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like I just got tired of like hearing the same stuff. It was like totally not inspiring to me to hear the same music over and over again. So like I started kind of like my musical taste started like being well, I think I felt like my musical taste was always kind of like kind of divergent from what was popular. But it really made me, I think dancing to music that a lot of dancers don't dance to really kind of gave me inspiration to move differently and just to kind of be like this weird alien creature thing that like, you know what I mean? I was
Right.
trying to look as like trippy and different as the music I was listening to. And so like artists like well, Kraftwerk, for example, like, and they're like, but like their tracks that haven't been heard, like a lot of their discography that usually people don't dance to. I got really into that. There's a group called Boards of Canada that is like
Oh
also,
yes, I have. They're very like atmospheric, right? Like very.
yes, yeah, it's very melodic
Yeah.
and a lot, kind of like a lot of down tempo and very nostalgic sounding, and like fell in love with that stuff. Um, Aphex Twin is another example of very experimental. Like there's like this whole like mm, electronic kind of like genre in the late 90s called IDM that I got really into. It's like
Mm.
I with an I, like IDM with a, you know, like letter I,
Right.
as in like
Igloo.
intellect. Yeah, igloo. Yeah, exactly. And I got really into that. So I feel like the music, my musical kind of choices were also kind of helped me dance a little bit differently.
Mm.
And then another thing is like I was often inspired by things that weren't even related to dancing. I would see like the way like water moves, or the way like wind blows like a piece of fabric, or the way like just like different trippy things that occur in nature that aren't related to dancing but just are like interesting types of movement that exist in our reality that are just like ripe for the taking, and a great way to be inspired that's not really directly influenced by actual dancing. So like those are some ways that I kind of pushed it in my own direction.
Mm.
um but actually the next question, what was your mindset approach to dance, is I'm going to expand on some of these points because like I feel like uh and actually for this I'm going to read something I wrote a long time ago.
Oh, right.
And this is something that I wrote on the back when I was selling detours on the internet. We had a website. It was detoursvideo.com. And you can actually, if you go back to like Wayback Machine,
Oh, I could get on it.
yeah, you can get on it. I mean,
Nice.
it's not there anymore. Like it's not online, but like if you go to Wayback Machine, which is like a internet archive that you can like
Yeah.
look at old websites that used to exist, you can find like my section and the whole website basically, and see what stuff I wrote. But I have this section where it's basically called practices and philosophies, and these are like concepts that I kind of tallied up to. These are practices that I kind of collected over the years that I kind of go to, my go to kind of like, yeah, practices and philosophies that I go to for my dance, my that I've used for throughout my dance journey to like help me. And I'm just gonna read this, and then I'll probably expand on some of them a little bit. So I'll just read it. The practices and philosophies. Over the years, I have tallied up a variety of practices and philosophies that I believe have significantly helped myself towards being a better and more original dancer. By no means do I expect everything on this list to work for everybody. I simply wanted to let it be known what I believe has worked for me. You can take it or leave it. And the first one is being myself. As corny as this might sound, I think that being myself has been one of the most important attitudes that I have maintained. By being myself, I mean dancing the way I sincerely want to dance, regardless of what others think or what the latest trend is. Being myself has kept me motivated because I am doing what I truly want to do. So that's my first point. And then second one is trusting my own judgment. This is very much related to being myself because being your true self requires some degree in trust in your own judgment. By trusting my own judgment, I mean having the faith and confidence in my own taste and creativity to determine how I want to dance. Listening to feedback is helpful to me, yet ultimately I try to always trust my own judgment. And this is kind of something that I was like talking about earlier, where it's like, yeah, you can. if you dance around people all the time, you're gonna kind of naturally get influenced by them. But like, is that what you really want to do, or is that what you're doing just because like they're in your immediate vicinity and you're being like kind of like influenced subconsciously by them?
Right.
Um, Sometimes when you like, I think by um, yeah, kind of taking a step back and kind of really thinking about, is this really the way I want to dance, or is just like really thinking about that, or is this just the way that I'm dancing because everybody else is dancing? That's like a really kind of deep question to ask. I
Right.
feel like every answer should ask that.
Yeah.
Um, the next one is dancing habitually. I have gotten in the habit of busting out whenever my body and mind are not occupied. While I'm waiting for my lunch to heat up in the microwave, or when I'm browsing through the aisles at the supermarket, I'll usually be practicing something. By making a habit of dancing wherever and whenever possible makes the whole day a practice session. So this is something that I basically done from the very beginning. Like just I was like use the word obsess. You know, I obsessed over dancing. Well, I feel like this is kind of plays into that where you just kind of do it wherever and whenever possible because like why not? Like dancing is one of these things where you don't need anything to do it. You know, you can if you're butt naked without shoes, you could still do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but
Yeah, and really, really, you're right. Yeah.
yeah, like with basketball, you need a basketball and a rim and a court. With like, you know, with name most things require some like some equipment.
Materials or
Yeah,
some
material.
the right
Exact.
context, right? To con
Yeah, exactly. And dancing is just you and your body, you know. So
Yes.
that allows you to do it whenever you want, basically.
Hmm.
The next point is experimenting.
Hmm.
Even though dancing is an art, trying to come up with your own moves and style make it seem more like a science due to the amount of trial and error that is involved. For every decent move that I add to my repertoire, there are usually dozens that are too lame to use. My
Hmm.
experience has proven that the more moves I attempt to create, the more likely I am of creating moves worth keeping.
Hmm.
That's another big one for me. A lot of my practice sessions are me just like basically fucking around and like um, just kind of like brainstorming and just doing stuff that I don't know if it's going to look good. It might look good. It might not, but let's just try it and then see what happens. And then
Right.
if it looks good, or if my friend says, do that move again, that's really cool, then I'll do it again. And like, that's essentially kind of like the way, like a one way to be creative, you know?
Hmm.
Next one is writing moves down. In a
Hmm.
in attempt to remember all the moves, sets, routines, and styles that I think of, I catalog everything, even ideas for moves. I always try to have my move list with me for reference when practicing. So this is something that I really don't do anymore. But back then I used to do it a lot. I had like basically like I try to like reduce it to as small a material thing as possible. So I had like probably like 4 or 5 pages of like single spaced like small text writing of like every single move that I ever came up with. And just like one of the things I would do is I would always make kind of like funny names for each move so it would kind of
Yeah.
stick in my memory more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny because I literally have let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I just have to. Oh man, where? Not just because you mentioned where is it? There's a paper. Ah, here it is. There was a paper. I don't know if you can see on my or when I first started dancing. Oh no, you can't really see.
It's blurry. Yeah, it's really blurry.
Oh, I gotta just. Oh man, can I take the blur away? Okay, like it was just
Oh
names
yeah, 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 yeah.
of just
Dude.
like
Yep.
things
Yep.
just so I could remember, and they made no sense to anyone else but to me. But anyway,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I
So
did. That's
yeah,
exactly what I did, man.
yeah.
That's really good. I mean, how else are you gonna remember? It's just too much stuff to remember. Like it's like almost impossible to do it just with your brain alone. Um, okay, so that's writing moves down. Oh yeah, practicing by repeating. So I think they call this drilling now. It's like
Hmm.
a common term I heard now. But practicing by repeating. Whenever I make up a new move, set, routine, or style that is worth keeping, I won't actually use it performing until I know it by heart. I'm able to execute it unconsciously. In order to get it down, I practice the particular thing I'm trying to learn over and over and over again.
Mm.
So this is just the basic concept of drilling. You just basically practice it until you can do it unconsciously almost, you know? Because like to me, if you have to think about it, if you stop and think about what you're doing in a move, it's not going to look as clean. It's just you're going to be able to see it in your in the performance. It's like you want to be able to do it just like without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do that is by just drilling it.
Right. Right.
Okay, exploring where others haven't.
Ooh.
In dancing, I have found that particular areas are easier to be original in than others. I think that certain styles are less explored and that certain styles are less explored than others, and this leaves more room for innovation. From the artistic perspective, the less traveled path is usually always the more rewarding one, and the one I have tried to stay on. And that was also a concept of the whole Detours video. It was like taking the path less traveled, you know, it's like that. It's like kind of like a cliche saying, but like that is really kind of a uh, an idea that a lot of us in the Detours video kind of went with, you know, like do see what everybody else is doing and don't do that. Do the exact opposite of that. Do something else, you know, like
Right.
so that was something that has been a recurring theme for me. Okay, looking for influence beyond dancing. I've kind of talked about this before. Dancing is an art form that is based on movement. Beyond the scope of dancing, there is a world of movement to be inspired by machines, nature, kangaroos, etc.
Yes. Yes.
I say kangaroos because, like in Detours, there's like a part where like they show like a kangaroo doing one of my moves. So I was
Yeah.
like,
The kangaroo doing your move.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Okay, next one is mixing styles. Anything that is seemingly original is only an original mixture of pre-existing elements.
Mhm.
B-boying is the perfect example of this principle, and the Detours parallel scene illustrates this. See, I was like referencing Detours because like this website was for Detours, so I'm always kind of referencing Detours in this. Um, in light of this premise, I feel that an efficient way to achieve originality is to mix and match moves, styles, and influences until you create a concoction that you can call your own. So yeah, like I mean, it's kind of similar to the thing where I was saying like you kind of put your own spin on stuff, but like this is more like you take an element of this from this style, you take an element of this from this style, and you mix them and you create a new thing. You know, it's a it's just something that I've done a lot, and I feel like is a really effective way to like come up with new stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, ignoring labels. Labels can hinder one's aim of being original because they devise implicit boundaries. For example, someone might say, to be a true b-boy, you have to do this, but you can't do that.
Right.
Because if you do, you're not a true b-boy. Of course, my own intention was never to fit into a particular conventional criteria, but to be a unique hybrid. As Benny Golson has said, when new things are discovered, they have no name. They defy description. So like this is kind of something that is like it's something that I also kind of struggled with because like a lot of people ask like what is your style called? What do you call it? And I'm like I don't really want to call it a name because like the second I call it a name, I'm boxing it in.
Right.
It's like that's it's going to be just that and like it kind of restricts what I can do with it. I want it to be like not have a name, like just be like this formless thing that can always be something different and just always change and
Right.
so to me like that ignoring labels thing is like powerful, also a powerful kind of concept to use.
Yeah. I feel people get like again like when you once you put I am a popper, I am a b-boy, whatever
Mm-hmm.
whatever defines the qualities of popping, you're right. Now it blocks everything out that isn't.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's a and it's I think people do it, of course, not even aware of it, but right.
Mm-hmm.
I like what you're saying about like I don't want to give it a name. Let it be. It doesn't have any boundaries. It can be anything.
Yeah, just don't give it a name. Like there's no need to give it a name. Like no one's telling you you have to give it a name. Just like you dance, that's it, you know? Like
Right.
it's like and then from there you're totally free to do whatever you want. And yeah, if you want to make it look like popping, then you do like incorporate elements of popping in it. If you want it to look like waving, throw waving in it. If you want to take from like a different style that has no relation to either one of those styles and mix it and make something totally new, do that too. But just like I mean, but it's fine. I mean, like it's and again, like this is my kind of like these are kind of like my philosophies, and I don't like I'm not saying everybody should do this. It's just like this is what it's kind of like what I've done, and I'm just throwing it out there for people if they need, like, if this might help them. So,
Sure. Oh, for sure, for
and
sure.
then here's another one. This is one that I've also expanded on before. Relying on my memory and not videos for reference. And I go, like most people, I have the natural tendency to subconsciously imitate movements I am frequently exposed to. I feel like videos have the potential of doing more harm than good because multiple viewings make me more disposed to mimicry. Seeing Skywalker and animation bust only a few occasions prevented me from directly imitating them because all I had to go by was the memories in my head. Using memory alone as reference allows my creativity to manipulate external influence into something that is more of my own innovation.
Hmm.
So, this is something I've talked about before. Practicing alone.
Hmm.
I have found it that it is more productive to practice alone than with people. This is partly because I feel like I am performing more than practicing when I have eyes looking at me. Practicing with people doesn't give me the full opportunity to experiment because I become too self-conscious. This is one that like I had this, I've always thought this is true, and like, but I will add to this one that I do see a lot of value in also practicing with people. You shouldn't just practice alone. You should also practice with people, but I would say don't just practice with people, also practice alone. And I would say probably I would advise, I mean, if you're trying to be like your own original kind of dance style, I would say practice alone more than you practice with people for that, for reasons I've described before. But again, everybody's different. Everybody has their own way. So do what you do. You.
Right, right.
Using a mirror. I have found that using a mirror is extremely helpful when practicing because it gives me instantaneous feedback. I know exactly how my moves look and can immediately critique myself. The only thing I would advise against would be getting so used to the mirror that you can't perform well without one. To
Hmm.
prevent this, I try to practice just as much without a mirror. Um, yeah.
Right.
And the last one I have here is videotaping myself. I try to videotape myself once in a while. It is just as helpful as using the mirror to me. The only drawback is that it's not instantaneous feedback. You don't see what you're doing when you're doing it. Videotaping has several advantages over a mirror, though. You don't have to pay attention to your reflection, thus allowing your mind to concentrate on just dancing. By recording yourself, you are able to observe things that are difficult to see in the mirror, like spins and ground moves. Videotaping yourself also gives you the opportunity to see what your moves look like from a variety of angles. So, and that's pretty much it. Those are like my practices and philosophies, and yeah, it's just take what you can from that. You don't have, obviously I'm not saying everybody got to do this. Like this is what I have learned for myself that works, and yeah,
Yeah, I
use
would
what you
say
can.
there's definitely gold and there's some definitely treasure in what you've shared. I would say so. I'm sure others as well. But like you said, take it, whatever the person that's hearing this, take what you would want to take from that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Well, okay. I guess was there a place you would want to go from there? I mean, I have questions also, but where do you?
Yeah. Yeah, we could whatever you want, man. We could go to questions, or I mean, we got some detours. I mean, I can talk about detours later because I feel like that's kind of like, well, it's similar. It's related, but it's like a little, it kind of goes in a different direction. But yeah, whatever you want to do.
What I was going to ask is, what was the concept of what is, how did that come about? Detours. Like, I understand that it was videos that were documenting different dancers, and the editing was wild too. Can you go, like, I guess, what's the idea of Detours? What was that about?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of like our like kind of like manifesto, if you will, for our take on dance, basically, like our point of view, and being original and kind of like doing your own thing, going in your own direction. And I feel like in like, for example, like I kind of described it earlier, the popping community, the popping scene was a little bit like very like strict and kind of like
Mhm.
closed minded a little bit, and just like there was a lot of almost like I guess maybe you call it orthodoxy in the dance world, like where you got to do it this way, like you got to do six step, you got to do, you got to pop like this, you got to pop like to every beat, there's like all these like
Right.
rules and like do it this way, and it's kind of weird. And I have a I'm a art major. I went to college for art, and I took a lot of art history classes. And originally, because I mean, mostly because I had to, because I was part of my major and my prerequisite for my degree. But I learned a lot in those classes because I learned that basically every single artistic movement has like like basically like the people that want to keep things the same
Yes,
and
always
people that
find
want to
that.
innovate and do something different
Yeah.
and move it forward, and dance is no different from all of that, and that's just like kind of like the human condition. Like there's always going to be people that are like that want like everything to be the same or want things to be a certain way, and then there's people that want to you know
Right.
do things differently and innovate and move beyond that and do their own thing. So, and I felt like dance, in like the dance culture at the time, there was certainly a lot of material and a lot. I think there was an abundance of like people saying like, "This is how you do it. This is b-boying. This is popping." Excuse me. And there wasn't a lot of pushback against that. Um, and so I felt like it was we wanted to kind of like have our little like say, you know, like
Right.
this is our 2 cents, this is
Right.
what we think.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to be like all like I didn't want to like
Right.
say it by like it explicitly saying it like this is how you should do it.
Right.
I just wanted to show it by like demonstrating it through dance. You know what I mean? Showing it, um, yeah, just like having this thing that people another an alternative point of view than the main kind of mainstream attitude in the culture. And um and so and I had I was by the time I had gotten around to thinking about even doing this video, I was already had a lot of friends and knew a lot of people in the dance community that had kind of shared a similar mindset to me.
Hmm.
And three of those people were Midas, Cujo, and Robzilla, and they're in the video with me. There's like the three other guys. It was us four are like the main dancers of the video, and so we wanted to kind of have like this video that would be an awesome dance video, but at the same time, kind of have this message of like do something different if you want to go in your own direction, do your own thing, like be original, be
Yeah.
your own person, be your own like do your own thing instead of just being like everybody else.
Right.
And so yeah, like that Robert Frost quote, like there's two paths in the forest and I chose the one that's less traveled, and that's what basically has worked for me. I'm kind of paraphrasing, I don't know the exact quote, kind of
Yeah. I think that
slips
sounds.
my mind. That's basically it, like so that's kind of like the gist of like the message. And we show that through dance and through editing, and the whole editing part was like so like at the time I when I first okay the thing that inspired me to make the video, the kind of spark that initially like made me want to make a video was like Cujo, who's also in the video. He had a solo video like that he came out with. I don't know what year it was, probably like 99 or something. And it was, to me, in my eyes, it was a pretty innovative video because it was the first time that I saw a breaking video, because most breaking videos up to that point were just basically like super raw, like just like it was created by using two VHS,
Right.
two VCRs, and just like copying the footage back and forth between the the two VCRs. So the editing was very rudimentary and basic, and like it was just like clip after clip after clip, and then just dubbed over with some music.
Right.
And so it was like the production of all videos up to that point was kind of like a little bit like underground, and they were like skating videos back then. It's like kind of the parallel I seem like that I kind of compare it to. Like they were very underground, just like none of the music was like had any copyright clearance. So it was like this underground thing that just got like passed around in the underground and like through word of mouth. Um and when I saw the first Cujo solo video, it was around the time when like personal computers were becoming more powerful and you were able to actually edit on a computer, edit
Mm.
like a video on a computer, like. And Um, so it was the first video that kind of did that, that utilized the technology and was able to like digitally edit a video. And so because of that, the video was like, there were like some scenes where the video was like edited very precisely and intricately, and it would like be synchronized to the music, and it was almost like the editing in itself was its own art.
Wow.
And I when I saw it, I immediately was like inspired because I was like, wow, like this is like the medium of video is like the perfect medium to capture dance. You know what I mean? Like the thing about dancing is it's ephemeral, right? Like ephemeral meaning that like you do it, it's there and it's gone. Like, and if you don't capture it on a video,
Right.
it's gone forever. And it's
Right.
like all you have to like, you know, to remember it by is potentially the memory in your head of it,
Yeah.
or video footage. So I saw that like, okay, it's really important to document our movement and document our like style. That's one thing. But then if you're going to document it, why not you also use the medium of video editing to add to the art, to make it even better than it is normally, and make it like um yeah, just make it just like this even more elaborate,
Right.
amazing piece of art than just like the dancing by itself. And so um and that's something that like a lot of people uh actually, there's still a lot of like people that are kind of like against that. It's kind of a weird concept because like one thing I found with dance videos is that a lot of people, they want just raw uncut footage. They want the actual footage with the actual music that they dance to, and
Right.
they want the actual like crowd reaction, all that. And I understand that because like it is in a lot of ways, like in a lot of context, it is probably better to watch dancing that way, because a lot of dancing is like how you're reacting to the music. Is it like, the musicality of it, and like the emotion of the music and how it relates into your movement, and hearing the crowd reaction. Like that's all important stuff when it comes to dancing, and how good the dancing is. So I understand the desire to wanted to see it raw and uncut. And I like that too. And in fact, we do include a lot of footage that is raw and uncut and has the actual audio of the video.
Mm.
But at the same time, I also saw that there was a lot of potential in using editing to kind of embellish the dancing, and make it even more artistic. So
Mm.
I wanted to do that. I wanted to like make it an amazing video, and I wanted to have like a message of like kind of do your own thing, go in your own direction.
Mm.
Don't you don't have to conform to what everybody else does type of message. And so, and with my friends that were Cujo, Robzilla, and Midas, we were kind of aligned in that view. We all had that same point of view where like we wanted to kind of spread that message and say to all the people that wanted to do their own thing, like, it's okay, man. You can go in your own direction. You can do your own thing. It's like you don't have to be like everybody else. And so that was kind of like, um, yeah, that's how it kind of came about. And so I basically bought a computer and well, actually, I built a computer. My At the time, I had some friends that knew how to build computers. They were kind of like computer nerds that built me a computer. And then I got like Premiere. I think it was like Premiere 2 or Premiere 3. It was like one of the first Premiere that ever existed. And that basically committed myself to learning video editing. And I did. I like learned how to do it. I bought a camera. We started shooting footage in I can't remember what year it was, but I think the video was released in like year 2000 or something. And yeah, we we just like probably took like a couple of years to make the video, shoot all the footage, do all the editing. It took a long time. And actually, when we came out with the video, a lot of the footage was really old already. But we were like, fuck it, we worked so hard on this, we got to release it. So, and that's how it happened. That's how it came about.
Wow. No, I mean, I was watching the video yesterday, and I still think it's amazing.
Oh,
The
thanks.
editing, the music, the choice of music, and the locations and all of it. Like, I don't know. I feel like it still stands up. Like it's still yeah.
Thank you.
That's just my yeah. That's wow.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I mean, I know it's definitely influenced a lot of people. I've had so many people come up to me and like thank me for that video and express their gratitude for us creating it. And I love that, man. Like to me, that was like kind of like our goal. It's like to inspire people and to
Yeah.
like and yeah, I feel like we definitely accomplished that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah. I kind of wanted to ask a little of Skywalker, 'cause I know you mentioned, meeting him at the club at the rave.
Hmm.
But did you stay like in touch and get to like learn about who he was and
Mm-mm.
no?
Well, that at that rave, no, I actually at the rave I went up to him like after like he did some performances and I realized like this guy was amazing and like I was kind of like stalking him and at the rave I was stalking
Right,
him at the
right.
rave and like he I think he probably went to the bathroom. He walked away from the circle and I followed him and then like I tapped him on the shoulder. I'm like, hey man, I just gotta tell you, you're like amazing. Like how the hell do you do that? And I can't even remember what he said. Like, I can't remember what exactly his answer was, but like, he was friendly. He kind of like, I remember talked to him for like a brief moment, and he seemed pretty cool. Um, and then after that rave, lost. I didn't get his number or anything. I just kind of like asked him that, and then like I lost contact and never saw him for like years. And then I don't know how I got in contact with him later. That's a good question. Actually, that's really interesting. Because eventually I became his friend, and we started like we hung out a few times, and
Hmm.
I might have, you know what? He went. I think I saw him once at Radiotron, and I think that's where I saw him. He was at a Radiotron, and um, I think I went up to him and got his number at the Radiotron. That might have been it. But yeah, like I totally became his friend, and like we practiced like a handful of times, but like by the time we started practicing, I was already like, this is like far when I'm into my journey. I wasn't like I was already kind of like making the Detours video when I started talking to him. So it was like it wasn't like I was practicing with him and then I picked up more moves from him. It was like I had already kind of gotten to the point where I had developed my style to a point where it was already kind of definitively my style,
Let's see.
and it was like quite different than his,
Mhm.
even though we have some similarities and stuff. Um, but yeah,
Okay.
that's what happened.
What I know that there's also a video of a battle of you and Skywalker versus Andre and Puppet Master.
Yeah.
Would you like to share a little bit of how that experience was, or
Well, that was a surprise battle. I had no idea I was going to battle that day. I just at an event. and then like they just sprung it on me like, hey, we're gonna battle Bopping Andre and Puppet Master, and I was like really good friends with Puppet Master, and like we're buddies, so like it was just like a fun battle. But like I think the one note I will say about that battle is like I didn't expect it to only be 2 rounds. I was like, because
Mm.
at that around that time, that was when I was like really like I was like really trained and ready for battling at that time, and so I could go for like I could have probably gone for like 20 rounds and not repeated a move. Like I was
Wow.
like, and I was like in battle mode around that time. And I was even entering, well, a lot of time, I was like around that time, I was also entering a lot of like breaking battles, which is kind of weird because like I had mentioned before, like, well, maybe I didn't mention this aspect, but I didn't really enter popping battles just because I never really felt like
Mm.
I like kind of fit into the popping battle scene. And I don't think I would have gotten very far. They probably wouldn't have. They probably would have disqualified me, kind of like the Electric Boogaloo's did. And I just didn't. I wasn't really that interested in battling poppers for some reason. Like it's just like seemed kind of not what I wanted to do. Like I wasn't. If you're just gonna judge on like how hard you can hit or how like precisely you can hit to the beat, like I'm not gonna win at that because like that's not really what my strong suit is. Um, I'm more about uh like contrast between styles and like mixing moves and like innovative stuff and like just um I would I don't really pop very hard. Like I've never really prided myself on being able to pop really hard. Like that's not really what
Right.
my style is about. I'm also not. I feel like popping to every snare, every clap is like kind of like for me. It kind of personally kind of bores me. Like it's not really interesting. It's like to me, hit like a pop or a hit is kind of like a period in a sentence.
Mm.
It's like the end. It's like something to accentuate your movement at the end
Right.
of a certain movement, and it definitely it's a very powerful illusion that I use a lot. And like I like doing dime stops. I like doing like I guess you would call them pops, but like um, I use it in conjunction with other styles that contrast with the popping and I mean a lot of people do that's like a thing that a lot of people do. I'm not saying it's something unique to me, but um I feel like especially back then, I feel like it was more about just like how hard you could hit or how like precisely you can hit the beat. And like to me, I'm not really that interested in like trying to compete in that aspect of dancing.
Right. Oh, it makes sense. What you're interested in, that'll guide you where you want to go, and
Yeah.
that interesting. Oh, so there's a movement that you've done, and I think I guess it's one of your signatures where you kind of like put your shoulders forward.
Yeah.
Can you? Where did that idea? Where did anything specific that arrived from?
No, that was just like another one of those moves. I was just like kind of messing around with my friends, doing a bunch of weird kind of experimental movements. And like, I will say that my shoulders are probably a little bit more kind of, I don't know about flexible, but like I
Hmm.
can move them around in their sockets a little bit more so than I think most people.
Uh,
However, now I really cannot compete with what the talent is now with shoulders because I know like, a lot of these bone breakers can like turn
like
their turn
360 and everything, and
yeah, turn their shoulder inside out and stuff.
yeah,
And like, see, I'm not that flexible and I don't like
yeah.
um I don't even want to try to do that because that to me looks like an injury waiting to happen. But I mean
That's for sure. Yeah.
but I mean like that was one type of move, like that was one position where every time I would get in that position, like my friends would be like, "Damn, that looks weird. What the hell? Do that again." And like, actually, I remember. I think like the first time I kind of came up with it, I was just like messing around. We were just like doing funny type things, and I did that, and I was doing like top rock, and I was just like doing top rock
Oh,
with that with my shoulders out, I was making my friends laugh, and then they were like, "Hey, maybe you should like do that for a move." And then I was like, yeah. And then so like I started kind of like experimenting with how I could make that like look interesting and incorporate it into my style. And yeah, and it became like this kind of like, whoa, what the hell is that kind of
right.
move? And so, yeah, I mean,
Nice.
uh, I'm just trying to use all the tricks that I can get, and just like, I mean, it's not just tricks. A lot of people, that was one thing that sometimes people often would call what I do back in the day. Like, they would just say I'm doing a bunch of tricks, and like, I mean, if you really break it down, like popping is it's a dance involving a lot of tricks. You
I
know,
mean,
I mean,
aren't we all mimes if you really want to break it down? Like,
yeah, it's
isn't
all
everyone trying to become this thing that they're not?
yeah, it's like, why are you ashamed of doing tricks? Like, popping is kind of based on tricks. It's based on illusion. It's like it's kind of like a combination of like magic and
Yeah.
dancing. You know, it's and I think that's what's awesome about it. You know, like I love that it's based on illusion, that you're tripping people out with these cool tricks. You know, like I think that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. Wow. I know 'cause we've kind of gone different places right now, but was there anything that you wanted to bring up or mention, or any of the points that we may have gone over? Yeah.
Um, at the moment, I can't think of anything, but I think, well, I think your last question, when you emailed me the questions, your last question was, what are some memorable moments in your dance journey? I think like I kind of can go over that, and there's like I
Yeah.
can it almost kind of like recaps a lot of the things I said, uh, in terms of like, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have anything.
Yeah.
I think I've said a lot what I wanted to say.
Yeah, what I would say definitely, I'd like to hear of what were some of the memorable moments in your dance journey, and then I probably have like two more questions, and just to give kind of an estimate of, because I know we've been for 2 hours,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I could do the memorable moments part. So I would say definitely my first dance performance at my high school, like the one I described in the beginning, that was like that one. I feel like was one of my more memorable moments, and that not only in my dance journey but in my life. Like that was something that like was like a life changing experience for me. So definitely that one.
Mhm.
I would say like the first time I went to my first Radiotron and I saw like like the b-boy dance culture in LA, and like that to me was mind blowing. That was an amazing thing. Also, it's not necessarily like a moment, but it was the moment when I realized that I want to be original. I want to,
Mhm.
you know, that like, you know, when I kind of described it before, where it's like, oh, I can't really copy this, but being original is good anyway, so I'm just going to be original. You know, it's like that kind of like, it wasn't exactly one moment, but it was kind of like this like paradigm shift in the way I think to lean towards being original instead of trying to copy people. That was like a big moment for me.
Mhm.
Um, and then I would say also the b-boy summit event where the electric boogaloo stopped the music and reprimanded me. I feel like that is definitely a huge moment where I realized that um, yeah, I'm kind of if you're telling me this, I'm kind of doing I'm in the going in the right direction. You know what I mean? So I consider that like a big, even though it was at the time, it was like it really was a hard thing to experience, and like it made me so upset. And I had a few pretty extensive internet arguments after that with
Ooh.
like with like various people in the community, and it was a big ordeal for me, and it was really hard. But like that really shaped kind of my direction of my dance and made me kind of go further into my own original style. Releasing Detours, I feel like was huge. I mean, that was something that I was something that I set out to do, and then I did it, and kind of like my first dance performance. You know, it was like I'm really proud of myself for being like, I'm gonna do this, and I did it, and
Yeah.
I succeeded at doing it. So like to me, that was like really important moment for me. And then of course the collaboration clip, like the
Yeah.
collaboration clip. And it's kind of interesting that clip. When I actually did that clip, it was an amazing like performance in the sense that like it was like a really good reaction from the crowd. I felt great. it was in a lot of ways it kind of mimicked that first dance performance at my high school. Like it was kind of that a similar reaction at my high school when I but like it was like on a obviously a larger scale because like eventually like a lot of people around the world saw it, so it was like a bigger thing. But like at the moment when it happened, I had no idea it was going to be as big as it was and it was going to change my life. It was just like an awesome performance. And I've like around that time I was doing like gigs. I was pretty much doing gigs like all the time. I was
Mm.
doing talent shows. I was doing like performances at schools. I was doing birthday parties. I was doing pretty much any gig I could get at around that time.
Mm.
And I was even street performing. So like at the time that performance, like I forgot about it. I like it was like something I did and then it went by and then it was done. And I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think anything would come of it. And actually, when I first saw that video on the internet, my first reaction to it was I didn't like it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't like what I did. Like everything in I the like my whole performance was like those are all kind of like basic moves that I did all the time, and it didn't like nothing was new about it for me, and it kind of was just like a whatever performance. And so like, but that kind of but that's kind of like me to do that. Like I often am my own worst critic, and I often will like not put footage out there that is actually good because like I'm just like, oh, I'm always looking for something new. Like whenever I record myself, even if I do a really, really good set, if I don't do something slightly different or innovative in the set, like to me, it's kind of boring. It's like I want to see myself continually innovate. So,
Mm.
and that was like that performance, even though it was a good crowd reaction, I was like, I'm not doing anything that great. It's just kind of like my basic moves.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like a time when that was at pretty much at my like peak. So I'm not my peak, but like I would say it was like around the peak of when I was the most, um, I had the most crowd pleasing moves.
Mm.
Like that was, like I said, I was like a street performer. So I had I was really good at doing like a combination of just like huge blow up moves, because like as a street performer, if you don't capture people's attention and like
Yeah.
impress the shit out of a person right off the bat, like they're gonna just walk away and not give you the time of day. So you have to kind of like be this like holy shit kind of performer
Right.
to like capture people's attention. And so like that was like in that part of my dance career, I was like a time when I was just like really good at being able to impress like people with my moves, like, and I would just like those are probably some of my more crowd pleasing moves that I just like strung together in this combination that just like
Mm.
um so I mean in that sense I was really good at impressing people with like these moves, but like I would probably say that's not the prime of my dancing ability. I think that there were other times in my life where I was actually probably a better dancer than that.
Mm. Mm.
But yeah, so that was definitely the collaboration clip was definitely a huge thing, and but it was only a big thing in hindsight. When I look back now, it's like, oh yeah, of course that was big. That like changed my life. That like completely gave me a dance career and like
Right.
gave me like gave me my like my reputation for who I am now.
Right.
If
Right.
if it wasn't for that clip, I probably would have like been just like not nobody would know who the fuck I am basically.
Right.
So I'm very grateful, and now I really appreciate that clip because now there's some time a lot of time has elapsed since then,
Mm.
and yeah, I look at that and I'm like, wow, I was pretty dope back then.
Yeah, man, for sure.
So that collaboration clip was definitely a huge one, and then maybe like the first time I got like a really big gig, like I would say my first really big gig was the movie You Got Served.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think I realized how big of a deal it was during that movie because like the movie stars of that movie were coming up to me and acting like I was a celebrity. And I was like, what the hell? Like these are like the main actors in this movie. And these are like the pop that B2K is like the group, the pop star group that like don't know if they're pop stars, but the musical group that uh kind of stars in that movie, and like they were coming up to me and giving me props. So I was like, damn, I guess that clip was a big deal because like these guys are like movie stars and like music stars, and like they're coming up to me and giving me props. Like that's crazy.
Yes, sir.
So that was cool. That was really cool. And then of course, dancing with Michael Jackson was like pretty amazing. It was like,
Oh, you danced with Michael Jackson.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I danced
Oh,
with him like the last 2 years of his life. I was, I don't know what we would call it, like a, in the movie This Is It.
oh,
I wasn't in the movie, but like I'm in the credits, and I was described as Michael Jackson's movement coach. So I guess I was his movement coach, and yeah, I would go to his house and practice with him for like 1 hour or 2 hours, 2 times a week for like basically like 2 years before he died, and so that was obviously something that was really crazy and surreal for me. So I would say that was probably like a big memorable moment in my dance journey.
wow, wow, wow. Yeah, and also Alice in Wonderland, correct? That was another.
Yeah, that was I mean I think by that time I was kind of already a little jaded. I mean I'm not like I was a huge movie star or anything, but I think that was like my third movie or fourth movie or something. And like I had done already like a bunch of commercials and other like kind of big gigs by that point. And like so it wasn't, I feel like it wasn't as special, but it was definitely like
Yeah, yeah.
a pretty cool experience and something that was memorable for me. But um if I'm going to just take like the ones that were the most memorable, I would say the ones I've already said are probably the most memorable.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I mean, yeah, my wow. Wow. Yeah, we can talk for hours. I'm sure there's so many more just to get in depth, even what was that with Michael and
Yeah, I mean, I definitely could. I mean, I have a lot to talk about.
uh,
I it's it's kind of interesting in this format because it's not off. I don't think I've ever done this where I've just been like, okay, I'm strictly going to talk about dancing for like 2 hours. It's usually like in passing,
yeah,
like I'll just run into somebody, I'll talk to them for a few minutes and then move on, or over the phone for a few minutes. It's never like
right.
this long of a conversation, so it's kind of cool that I'm able to expand on these topics a little deeper.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was dang, I just had there was some those two last questions I had. One was, oh yes, one was, would do you foresee in the future, like let's say like being a judge for an event or being some part of a dance event nowadays? Do you see that in the future
Hmm.
or
I'm always open to that. I've done it before. I've judged events, and I don't know if it's something that I'm like necessarily the best person for that. But maybe I don't know. Maybe it's cool to have someone from a different perspective. I have like my own opinion about what is makes a good dancer and what doesn't and all that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm totally open to that. I like it. I love watching dance. I still appreciate it. Um, I love seeing the talent now. I think the talent has gotten to this absurd level of like amazingness, like that I can't even describe. It's like incredible. Like the internet, it's like a double-edged sword, right? Like a lot of things. Like I've already kind of described some of the maybe the not so the negative effects of the internet, but like at the same time, the internet has created just a dance boom. Like there's just it's a huge phenomenon compared to what it was in the early 2000s and the 90s. It's like, and yeah, I love it. I love seeing it. My most of my feed is just like dancing.
oh really? Oh okay.
Yeah, most of it. I mean,
Oh,
I have other interests too, but I mean that is like definitely composes a huge part of it. So yeah, I appreciate it. I like seeing what everybody's doing these days, the new styles. It's beautiful. I love how like there's all these all styles battles.
mm-hmm.
That's something that I used to never like. Well, that was something that was non-existent before.
Mm.
You know, like it was like before, like in the early 2000s. If we're going to talk about how it was different back then, I would say that's one thing. There was never any all styles battle. That was like something that no one had ever heard of. In fact, that was another aspect about the popping community that like totally pissed me off, was that like how they would explicitly say don't mix styles. Like that was something they said,
Wow.
oh, like many times. And I found that completely antithetical to art and to dancing.
Right.
So I mean, I was that was another aspect. I'm like, I'm going to push back against this because I think that's completely the wrong way to look at it. But yeah, I love the fact that people can like mix everything now and just be this hybrid kind
Yeah.
of like dancer. That I think it's amazing, and I really enjoy watching it and seeing people innovate.
Yeah, yeah, no, now with the internet, with Instagram, I mean, there's so much content that I probably won't even get to see in my life if I just watched a video every day. Uh,
Hmm.
and also it's so cool to see like other countries too, like in India and
Yeah.
Russia and like and just
Oh yeah.
on a side, like it's like these interviews, like I'm noticing like I'll interview someone from Russia. I'm like, what was going on in the 80s then? And then you'll hear about some OG that was doing it's just so what the internet has given us access to seeing everything. Yeah,
For sure.
taking that, like we've talked about the pros and cons to that, but yeah, it's wild. Yeah. Dance now, it's everything's mixing, everything's blending. I feel we can't even keep up of what's happening. Like
Hmm.
there's just communities that are just like, oh, we're gonna expand on this, and then a year later, oh, here's something new coming up. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. No, it is awesome. Yeah, it's like really I'm hopeful for the future of dance and can't wait to see what we have in store because so far it's been an amazing ride.
Yeah. Well, my last question, David, is what's a message you would like to tell the audience, the people that are listening to this? So what would be a message you would like to leave them with?
Like kind of something, a theme that I've said before, and probably a theme that was part of Detours, which is like, don't be afraid to truly express yourself
Hmm.
and to to express who you truly are through your dance. It might be an intimidating thing to do because it is, you know, it's like to me, it's like it feels sometimes like you're just exposing your soul to the world for them, everybody to criticize.
Right.
Um, but it's a brave and noble act that I think is an amazing experience to do. And yeah, so just don't be afraid of that, and don't be afraid of dancing how you truly want to dance and not how everybody else is dancing. I guess I would say that. But something, I mean, I guess it's kind of redundant, but that's, I think, what I would want to say.
For sure. That's really important. Very, yeah. I feel again, like you've said, like throughout our entire conversation of your journey it makes sense, like where you're coming from. And like you said, you move and you express exactly your message. So
Hmm.
yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the last question I have. And yeah, David, I appreciate your time again, sharing the journey, the stories. Um, yeah, man. If you're if you're ever in LA or Long Beach, love to, I don't know, connect or festivals, music, anything. I'm down to connect, but I appreciate the time and yeah, man.
For sure, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It would be cool, man. I'd like that. It'd be cool to hang out for sure.
Well, any last things? If not, we'll end it here.
All right. Yeah, I think I've said what I need to say. I think I'm good. If I think of anything else, maybe I'll hit you up again.
Like, wait, I got one more thing to share. No, no, that's if you were messaging me. Hold on, hold on.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording then.